Good evening, everybody. Please be seated. Welcome to the meeting of full council this evening. I'm the Mayor of Rugby, Councillor Simon Ward, and will be chairing the meeting. This meeting is being web streamed to the public through the council's YouTube channel. During the meeting, councillors, if you wish to speak, please use the push to talk button on the microphone in front of you. Before we begin the formal agenda, I will ask the Acting Chief Executive to provide details of the evacuation procedure for those present.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening all. There is no fire drill scheduled in the building this evening. If the fire alarm does sound, then please make your way out of the building down the main staircase, out of the main doors of the Town Hall and congregate at the entrance to Caldecott Park. An officer of the council will give instructions on when it is safe to return to the building.
Thank you. And apologies for absence. Are there any apologies, Acting Chief Executive?
Mr. Mayor, I have apologies from Councillors Barnett, Daly, Dumbleton, Maudis, New, Simpson Vince and Trimble.
Thank you. Just checking that's everybody. Yeah. Okay. On to item 2, to approve the minutes of the meeting of Council held the 19th of March 2025. I move that the minutes of the meeting of Council held on the 19th of March 2025 be approved and adopted. Who will second the motion?
I will, Mr. Mayor.
Those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. That's carried. On to item 3, declarations of interest. Can I remind members that when they declare interest, they must also declare the general nature of that interest? Are there any declarations under item A, non-pecuniary interests as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors? Councillor Sanderson?
The motion, Mr. Mayor, because I am a person with a disability.
That's noted. Any other non-pecuniary interests? No. On to pecuniary interests as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors. No. Item C, notice under Section 106 Local Government Finance Act 1992, non-payment of community charge or council tax. No. Okay, on to item 4, so my mayoral announcements. I was delighted to hold my mayoral charity ball at the Ben Hall recently for the RJ Foundation, and in honour of Jamie Reese's incredible legacy. I wanted it to be a special night for Naomi and her family, and of course, understandably, it was an emotional evening. It was a real celebration of local talent and kindly supported by local businesses and residents. I'm pleased to say that it was a great evening and we managed to raise just over £7,500 for the foundation, which was incredible. Yeah, it is. So thank you again to everyone who supported the evening. Now, you all know how passionate I am about local sports, and it was great to attend the Sports Awards recently, which showcased some of the amazing local talent we have. It was also great to see so many familiar faces there too, and lots of clubs that I've attended throughout my mayoral year. Congratulations to all the winners and nominees on the night. Keeping on the theme of local sports, I'd like to give a few shout-outs. So firstly, congratulations to Brinklow FC seniors who won the Bedworth Nursing Cup final on Friday evening. It was a pleasure to be there to support and see them run away deserved winners 2-1 against Kenilworth Wardens. Also, congratulations to Raw Cheer and Dance. I mentioned in my last mayoral announcement that they were going to America to compete on the world stage. Well, on Friday, they did just that and scored a perfect 0 rating and ranked 4th overall, which is an incredible achievement for the team, the club, and of course something for us all to be proud of. This Sunday, I'm going to have a tour of Leicester Rowing Club by Rugby's Olympic gold medalist and MBE, Lauren Henry, on the club's regatta day. It would be great to see where Lauren has trained and competed for many years, and look out for a race we'll be having on the rowing machines. I have no doubt it won't be a close race at all. But I'll try my best. Yeah. Next Tuesday evening, the 29th of April, I'm also looking forward to attending the Women's Challenge Cup final between Rugby Brough Women's FC and West Brom at the Bescott Stadium in Walsall. Hopefully the ladies can retain the trophy, which they successfully won last season. Tickets are available online if you would like to show your support also. Okay, and I'd like to mention the Sports Diary podcast. So Demi and Nat, who run it, are local. They're all about promoting local sporting individuals and sporting teams and clubs. I'd recommend having a listen, and to our local sports clubs and individuals, I'd suggest getting in touch with them to see if they might be able to promote what you do and perhaps even have you on the podcast. And finally, just a couple more things. This Saturday is the Spring Food and Drink Festival, another great event in the town centre, and I look forward to seeing everyone there. And also a week on Monday is the return of the Spring Fair, which has been absent for a few years, which, yeah, again, it would be great to see everybody there. And that concludes my final mayoral announcement. Yeah. So on to item 5, questions pursuant to Standing Order 10. Are there any questions, Acting Chief Executive?
Mr Mayor, there are no questions.
On to item 6A, to receive the report of Cabinet dated the 8th of April 2025. In submitting the report of Cabinet, if members wish to raise questions or to comment, will they please indicate they wish to do so when I call the item? Councillor Maureen, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 1 of the report titled Town Centre Regeneration Update?
I will, Mayor. Thank you, yes.
Who will second the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Councillor Maureen, would you like to introduce the report?
I thank you for your valiant attempt at pronouncing my surname, so thank you. It's appreciated. I'll be very, very brief. The report is as noted. I'd just like to pay testament to officers who have worked very hard this last 6 months. We're focusing on delivery. The background work has been done, and I look forward to bringing tangible information and proposals to the Chamber for some decisive decisions in the coming weeks and months. And that's it, really. I look forward to, obviously, any questions is great, but onwards and upwards, got a lot of work to do.
Thank you. Are there any speakers? No. Okay. So in that case, I think we'll just go to the vote if there's no speakers on that.
Item 6B.
Oh, sorry, item 6B. Okay, item 6B. So will you move the... Councillor Maureen, will you move the confirmation adoption of item 2 of the report titled Public Realm Master Plan Priority Projects?
I will, thank you, yes.
And who will second that motion?
I will.
Are there any speakers? Would you like to introduce this report, Councillor Maureen?
Yes, I will. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Perhaps, again, to expand a little bit on this, and I'd be very keen to invite the Conservative representative just to perhaps clarify position on this, because this piece of work here for the Public Realm Master Plan I think is really important for the town. I think it's important to set out a long-term vision, a long-term strategy. Again, I'd like to really commend officers for their valiant work, and particular in being very disciplined and very sensible with taxpayers' money, because the investment to date and what's proposed here is £272,000, but that's to get the detailed design work done so that cost engineering can be facilitated, and it sets a framework for the entire town for realistically for the next decades. So any then work that goes on in Rugby in the town centre, a framework over the coming years, decades, will work to a particular strategy. So I think that's really wholesome to have a nice, clear plan. And that money is invested to ensure we get the best value for money for the initial project. So it's really good. It's a cross-party work, and I think it will help Rugby have a better master plan, and I hope all parties can encourage and show their support for that piece of work.
Thank you. Are there any speakers on this item? Councillor Picker?
Yeah, I think I would be inclined to agree broadly with the leader of the council. This is obviously a piece of work that was begun some number of months ago. I think myself, Councillor Mystery, Councillor Roodhouse, I think, was there and Councillor Poole as well was in Altrincham looking at the embryonic stages of this work. It's good to see that it's continuing, and it's fantastic to see that we've secured additional funding through UK SPF again.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? No. Councillor Maureen, your right to reply.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, Mr. Mayor. I was going to play a game with your surname now as well, but I won't. No, thank you very much. Thank you. No, look, I welcome Councillor Pickett's response, and it would be great if your party's social media could be quite so clear on your party's position in welcoming this investment, because it is good for the town, and it's important that we give that clear message that investment is coming to Rugby.
Okay, I will now submit for confirmation and adoption of the whole report. In moving for confirmation and adoption of the whole report, this can take place en bloc or upon any member request, a vote can be taken separately in respect of each report. Does any member wish for a vote to be taken in respect of each individual report? No? Okay, I now submit for confirmation and adoption the whole of the report. Those in favour, please show. Okay, the motion is carried, that's unanimous. Item 7, to receive the reports of officers. The next item is to receive the report of the Chief Officer for Growth and Investment, set out at item 7A of the agenda. The report concerns the proposed adoption of an economic strategy. Councillor Robinson, will you move the report?
I so move, Mr Mayor.
Who will second the motion?
I will second the motion and I reserve my right to speak.
Councillor Robinson, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So it's a great pleasure to be putting this paper forward for adoption this evening. I need to thank Councillor Mackenzie for her sterling work in chairing the working party and working and engaging with me very well in that process and working together to bring this forward. And also thank officers who support that whole process and put the words on the page ultimately. We had lots of engagement from businesses through various meetings and events that we had, both meetings we hosted and brought them into the council, and meetings where we went out to them. We've been hosted by very many, and also our stakeholders and other partners, as well as the other councillors involved in the working party. And there was a focus group as well that all councillors were invited to. So this piece of work does represent, or aims to represent, the views, collective views of lots of people looking at this from every angle. The foreword on page 3 kind of reflects a bit of a summary of some of the important messages, key messages that bubbled up from our conversations with all of the above and residents as well. And sort of on page 5, it kind of sets out really what, the purpose of this strategy is, which is to help ensure the delivery of the corporate strategy, and sort of bigger and broader than that. It's about having a vision that we can use to secure that short, mid and long-term investment in the kind of growth, good growth that we'd like to see for the benefit of everybody. So in essence, that's what it's all about, and I will leave it there for now and see if there's any further comments. Thank you.
Are there any speakers? Oh, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also like to add my thanks to everyone who's worked on this. We've had some really good business engagement. I think with Councillor Robinson, we've probably seen upwards of 100 different companies over the last year as we've been out and about talking and companies have come in. We had an excellent councillor event here where we had breakout rooms and lots of discussion and planning. It was a really good evening when we did that. This is very important because it comes into a vacuum that we've had without having an economic strategy. This is an opportunity to really push a direction and onto our internal and external partners. If we don't know where we're going, we can't encourage others to help us go in that direction. And this is a part of the dialogue that we need to have with people like Warwickshire County Council and other agencies who have a stake here in our borough. It's also an important part of the setting the evidence in the local plan process to the inspector of what our businesses and our residents need and how we are planning for the future of our borough. So I'm really pleased to see that the consultation is now finished and we are ready to adopt this strategy, and I do commend it to all my colleagues. It's a great step forward, but it's not a static document. There will be work plan coming forward from this, so there will be next steps of actually how we implement, and we look forward to all of that process and its revisions and the way it will continue to shape our borough going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Picker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll be very brief because this is a little bit of a bittersweet item for me, because I do remember starting some of this process, and I think one of the workshops you referred to was whilst I was the portfolio holder. The one thing I would say is that I think John and his team have done a cracking job in putting this together. I think it reflects a lot of the things that we all spoke about. And I think there was a degree of cross-party consensus on how we wanted to see rugby's future economy shape. And as you said, it was always designed, or certainly from my point of view, was designed to run in parallel with the local plan process and the town centre regeneration process. So I'm glad to see that that has continued to happen. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here, but obviously the devil will be in delivering it. And I think we're perhaps in a slightly different economic scenario for a variety of reasons than when we began this process, but obviously it's got a 3-year review built into it, so it's an ongoing piece of work and hopefully it will continue to be engaged with.
Are there any more speakers? Councillor Maureen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It would be wrong to pass up an opportunity to have a little go here. I think you've done sterling work, Councillor Picker, since starting this, and it's great that you saw the light to put in place an economic strategy for the borough. But conscious that you have had a chance to speak already in this debate and therefore cannot speak again, it's a great opportunity for perhaps some of your more experienced colleagues to explain to this town hall and chamber why we've not had an economic strategy for the previous 20 years and how previous current local plans were indeed put together without an economic strategy. So perhaps more experienced colleagues could answer that question. It'd be good for everybody's benefit, Mr. Mayor, to put that to bed.
Are there any more speakers? No. Okay, Councillor Robinson, you're right to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as the local plan has come up, just to kind of signal really actually that there is real value in this economic plan, and as Councillor Pickler has said, coming in parallel with the local plan process, you would perhaps note that there is reference in the outcomes to reducing economic and health inequalities, and that part of the strategy there is about upskilling, apprenticeships, having increasing the skills within our workforce, and attracting best-in-class business to provide higher paid jobs. That's part of this strategy. As is ensuring that we have grow-on space for businesses, and this was something that we heard repeatedly was businesses wanting to employ people in higher skilled jobs, but the skilled people weren't available, and no clear routes to getting that training, to plugging that gap. And then also those smaller and medium-sized enterprises not able to grow on. And sadly, you know, I became aware that the company that made the Gilbert rugby balls used to be in rugby, but they are one example of a company that moved elsewhere because they didn't have the space within rugby. So those two things are, those two key learnings that are reflected in this economic strategy are also reflected in the local plan. My only regret is that we didn't quite get enough seats to take leadership as a council in the previous year and have more time on the economic strategy, develop that more fully and then go into local plan. But we are where we are. These two trains, in fact 3 trains really, the local plan, town centre regeneration and economic strategy are kind of all been running in parallel. And we're spread across those 3 things and trying to get them up to speed quickly in order to be able to deliver real and meaningful short, mid and long-term change. So it's great that this is coming together. There's going to be more to follow over, over the next few months in terms of town centre, in terms of, how the local plan evolves. But it does feel, as a rugby resident most of my life, exciting to actually see some meaningful change. Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to put this to the vote. So those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. The motion is carried. Okay, the next item is to receive the report of the Acting Chief Executive set out at item 7B of the agenda. The report concerns the appointment of Monitoring Officer. Councillor Mistry, will you move the report?
Mr Mayor, I move so.
Who will second the motion?
I will, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Mistry, would you like to introduce the report?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Ian Hunt, I think, be appointed as the Council's interim monitoring officer and to hold the constitutionally delegated function of the Chief Officer of Legal and Governance from 7th of May. And it is a Council statutory duty to appoint a monitoring officer. And while I've got the floor, Mr Mayor, I want to just put on record my thanks on behalf of the group to Aftab Razak as a Chief Officer for Legal and Governance for his service to this chamber and this town and to the council. And I've enjoyed working over many years, and especially the last 12 months. It's been a tough time. We've been through a period of COVID and all the things that went round and so many things. I had a sort of confrontation one day whether if I was celebrating Diwali, whether I could have 2 people or 4 people in a room sitting miles away. Anyway, he won the day on that. The law says 2, and there was only 2 people on a monitor to forecast on Zoom the Diwali. So there you are. We started on the wrong footing, I think, on that day. But I think thanks to Aftab Razak for all his time and service to this town, and I wish him all the best to him and his family, moving up somewhere north, I believe. So I put on record our thanks on behalf of the council. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Any speakers? No? Okay, then we'll put this to the vote. Those in favour then, please show. That's unanimous. The motion is carried. Item 8, notices of motion pursuant to Standing Order 11. There is one motion on notice to be considered this evening. Councillor Sanderson, will you please move the motion set out at item 8A of the agenda, notice of which has been given under Standing Order 11?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wish to move this motion.
And who will second the motion?
Second motion. I reserve my right to speak.
Okay, Councillor Sanderson, I call on you to speak on this motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The reason for I put this motion forward was I noticed governments don't seem to learn from the previous government
regarding disability benefits. The previous government, when PIP replaced DLA, spent £81.5 million on appeals, most of which they actually lost. Because PIP and DLA are an evidence-based claim that regards significant evidence from a consultant or a GP before it can before the claim can go forward. You have 50 sections of the paperwork to complete, plus you have to submit that extra evidence from the consultant or the GP. So it's not one of those benefits that isn't tested and tried before the claimant gets the payment. It's interesting to note, at the moment, the current government, and it's part of that cycle, has spent since 2013 and the introduction of PIP, £400 million on appeals. £400 million. And again, they keep on losing them. So I think it is worthwhile noting that when the government's looking to put in more changes to PIP going forward, it may well be quite a significant number of appeals. There will certainly be breakdowns in claims and benefits during that period, and it's quite important that we help people get over those problems. For example, if benefits are suspended and they don't have the money to cover their gas, electric, energy for the aids and adaptations that they use, that we can, as a council, signpost people to the right organisations. Be it CAB, be a money advice agency, be a disability group. Indeed, myself and the portfolio holder, Councillor O'Rourke, have been talking to disability groups and disability people who are involved with disability to see whether we can actually get a viable disability forum actually operating in Rugby. Most of the old ones are moribund and no longer operate. So getting a new organisation going forward would be really helpful. Again, it's but also about accessibility. It was fun getting in this building today with a broken lift. You can imagine how difficult that was to get upstairs. But when we had the refurbishment of the building, no provision was made for any person with a disability to get in and out of this building. None whatsoever. In fact, I had to be rescued at the back door by our acting chief executive because the door opens outwards. And if you're on a mobility scooter, you cannot hold a door open and ride it in at the same time. It's just impossible. And then you have to go through the myriad number of fire doors within our building. We haven't seen a fire door legacy. We never get rid of one. We just add a bit more to it. And that's just this building. I could say the same for the Rugby Art Gallery and Museum. Again, access problems are also a problem there. So thinking about people with disabilities, how difficult it is to access places, and this pressure of not knowing whether you're going to, because these benefits can be reviewed at any time. There's no forewarning, it just happens. So there's a lot of very worried and a lot of very scared people out there who are worrying what's going to happen with PIP. But the other problem is, I say, if you've lost the person who is your carer because you pay for them out of your PIP, or the person who cleans your house because you pay them out of your PIP, that's a problem. If you can't use those aids and adaptations that you have hired, and which you will probably use, is no longer available, you can no longer afford the higher charge, then that's a problem. If you can no longer use that mobility scooter because it needs repair, or you don't have enough money to cover the insurance to use it, that is a problem for you. So for all those reasons, I think we really need to help people in the right direction. If somebody comes to us, to our revenue section, and says, or our rent section, and says, sorry, I can't pay the rent, they've cut off my PIP, what help are we going to offer them? Where are we going to help them? Where are we going to point them in the right direction so they can get some help to cover their costs? So that's the reason why I put the motion forward, Mr. Mayor, and I hope members will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any speakers? Councillor Edwards? Sorry, Councillor Claire Edwards, should I say? Yeah.
I'll respond to both. It's my married name. I'm going to try and read my speech because I did prepare a speech. And I wanted first of all to say thank you for the notice of motion. I think it's really important that we acknowledge it comes from lived experience and understand that change is hugely upsetting, and particularly for residents who are on a fixed income and not knowing what's going to come next. But I have to say the Labour government inherited a social security system that actually is broken. And it's failing the very people it's intended to help and support. 1 in 10 people of working age are claiming a sickness or disability benefit. Almost 1 million young people are not in education, employment or training. That's 1 in 8 of young people. Some 2.8 million out of work due to long-term sickness, and the number of people claiming PIP is set to double this decade from 2 million to 4.3 million. With the growth in claims rising faster among young people, as I've just said, and those with mental health conditions. This is a failure of the system, and it can't continue. We must and have to review and change the system. Millions of people who could work are trapped in benefits. There is a benefit trap, and they're denied the income, the hope, the dignity and the respect that they deserve. This Labour government is doing something about it, and it will take time. It's investing money in where it's needed, like access to work schemes that actually work, and ensuring that NHS tackles the waiting list so that people are waiting for operations can actually get the operation and get back to work properly. Because work is the answer to a lot of things. But there will always be people who can never work because of the severity of their disability or illness. And we have to do more to support the needs and abilities of people who can and should want to work and find the barriers too much. Consultation and engagement is ongoing nationally with disability organisations, and they will continue to ensure change doesn't badly impact them as it was designed to help and support. But what we're doing locally, well, I'm really pleased that as of now, this month, we are investing in partnership in Brownsover, which is one of our most deprived areas, for outreach work for citizens' advice on 2 mornings a week, both at the Children's Centre and in the Brownsover Community Association. And I think that will begin to help get the support that people need close to home where they need it, and work through the PIP and whatever PIP becomes as it evolves in the coming years. I'm also really keen that we have a Rugby Disability Forum. That it was a very successful entity about 10 years ago. It needs to be restored and refreshed, and we need to move forward. And actually, it should be run by people with disabilities because they have that lived experience, and it's really important that we do that. So I'm really pleased that, as a council, we are looking at that situation. One of our key aims in the community's portfolio is to support communities, to support their communities to be the best and most successful they can do. So I will be supporting that notice of motion. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any more speakers? Okay, Councillor Sanderson, you're right to... Oh, sorry, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just really wanting to echo and to put on record, you know, the complete support for the principle behind the motion. And I'm the primary carer for my father, who's got significant disability issues, and seeing him around the town challenging, it's not right. And to link it into the town centre work that we talked about earlier, being conscious of people's needs around the town across the spectrum is really important. So would certainly want to put on record that will be a driving motion of all of the work that's been done in the town centre going forward. Councillor Sanderson, you're a strong voice for that, so commend you for that. I would just, when I seen the motion and tried to look into it, I found the 400 million figure that you quoted. Just to, if you want to clarify, that's from 2013 to 2024. This has been an issue going on some time, and I think, as Councillor Edwards said, it does need a look, but we do need to be careful to consider those people who are most affected. Thank you.
Councillor O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor Sanderson, I absolutely agree with you about accessibility in terms of access to this building. As you know, I've already spoken to you, and as Councillor Garcia knows, we are working through this in the sort of equality and diversity group with which Councillor Garcia actually chairs. And for the first time in a long time, I don't know if we ever have had one, we will be having a full audit, as you know, of this building. And then, as required under the Equality Act and Human Rights Act of 2010, we will, of course, have to identify a capital programme that will support the sort of work that needs to be done in a practical way, in a timely way, in the right way. And as you also know, there is also a report that's been pulled together for the Rugby Art Gallery and Museum. So we are doing work on that. I 100% support you, as you know, in terms of helping to sort of encourage people to bring forward a forum, a disability forum again for this town, because I truly believe that listening to people with that lived experience really will help us to provide much better service. So 100% behind that. I also think it's really important that we do signpost. It's great to hear that Councillor Edwards and in her portfolio whole position is already looking at different stuff there. I would add further, through the Partnership and Health and Wellbeing Forum, we will and already are talking about how we have a sort of joint communication plan across all of our agencies to effectively signpost people, to keep them well, to keep them out of hospital, and to get them out of hospital quickly. So we are giving a lot to that, and we will continue to. There's a lot of work to be done, but I know you will support me. Thank you.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so this, you'll know, and remember I've spoken about this in the Chamber as well, not specifically PIPs, but disability and removing inequalities. So I would just also like to endorse the fact that it's fantastic to see this being discussed. What I'm, as somebody who's action-oriented, I'm looking at this, I'm not exactly clear what the ask or the action is as a result of this motion. And listening to my colleagues, I'm reminded of conversations that you and I, Councillor Sanderson, have had also in the past about the Disability Forum. And I wonder whether the time is right to come back to those conversations again and explore what it is that people want in the round, not just on this issue, but in the round, and whether that would perhaps be a tangible action to take away. The principle of supporting residents in difficulty and the signposting, everything contained in the motion, to my understanding, it happens. I think this shines a light on the need to make sure we do it, and we're robust and we're planned for a particular policy, which I welcome. all I'm struggling to understand is materially if there's a material different ask in here and beyond being prepared. And if you would just, come back to that. And if you want to follow up and have a conversation, I'm sure, I think you've already indicated, Councillor Edwards, Councillor O'Rourke, let's talk more about getting the Disability Forum up and running again. Thank you.
Are there any more speakers? Looking around the room. No. Councillor Sanderson, you're right to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I very much welcome the support that the motion has had tonight. I would point out one thing, though. Not everyone on PIP is unemployed or not working. Many are. In fact, the PIP actually makes it possible for them to work, either in paid employment or in voluntary employment. So I would ask members if they would bear that in mind, because I know there are many people who consider that they may not be able to carry on, having quite the opposite effect that the government wanted. Many people are concerned they might not be able to actually carry on with that employment because of any changes to PIP. So with that, bearing that in mind, I think we are building a consensus on this council. I'd like to see that push forward. Certainly, it may even be a good idea whether we can find some employment opportunities within this building for people with disabilities, if they can get in. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, I shall now put the motion to the vote. So all those in favour, please show. That's unanimously carried. On to item 9. So motion to exclude the public under section 100A part 4 of the Local Government Act 1972. Under section 100A part 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public